Welcome to Hometown Heroes. Today we're here with Gary Simpkins of the Quitman Fire Department here in Texas. Gary, thanks a lot for sitting down and taking the time with us today. It's real, yes, sir. It's really important to us to be able to share men like your and women like your stories with the community. So thank you very much. So let's start off by talking a little bit about who you are and your background and maybe some of your years of service and what you've done throughout your career.
I was born up north in Illinois. We moved here. My father was a driller for Shell Oil Company. We moved around all over the state of Texas when I was younger. Went to a lot of different schools. Moved here quickly when I was a senior in high school, and been here ever since. I married a local girl, and she was born and raised here. Her whole family from here. After my senior year, I went to junior college in Pilot for 2 years and got out. And, I was offered a job with Shell Oil Company. My father had already retired by that time, and so I worked with them for exactly a year and was drafted. And when I was drafted, I knew I was probably going to Vietnam. This was in '65.
Wow.
By working that year with Shell, I actually had that job waiting for me when I got out. I knew. So I had completed my year. Probably had to be looking for a job or stayed in the Army.
Sure.
When I went through the process for the Army, at that time, they asked me, they had a certain deal where you could go into the Army, which I was actually drafted into, or we could go into the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever. But when I was drafted in the Army, I was going to stay there. On the way to Fort Polk, a group of us, some from Mount Pleasant and Winsboro, we made up our minds that we were going to have to be in the Army, probably have to go to Vietnam anyway, that we wanted to be paratroopers. So the first opportunity at basic, of course, they came around and looking for volunteers. So all 4 of us volunteered for that, and we all, after a few months after your basic, your AIT, we went right on into jump school. At AIT, we separated. I went to military police training, and they all went into the infantry. But we met again in Vietnam. Actually did. Very interesting how we came to meet each other over there.
Takes some bravery to jump out of an airplane.
No, it's really nice. I'd rather jump out of it than ride the thing. Talk a little bit about that. I jumped everything from helicopters to C-141 Starlifter jets to C-130s, but when you get on, they give you a bag, and they say that you can fill that bag up if you want to, but when you do, tie it off and take it with you. Don't leave it on the plane. Somebody down the way, they'll start the vomit, they'll release you to chain reaction. So you're glad to get that door open to get off of there. But anyway,
Imagine.
Served my time in Vietnam as an MD. We did what we call patrol, just road patrol between. I was at Cameron Bay. The train was kind of north, Van Rang was south. It was about 30, 40 miles between the two, and we were kind of in the middle. So we would do that whole route. And we had our company, when we went over, we took a shipload of people, and all of our Jeeps, our deuce and a halves, trailers, everything went with us. We had 41 Jeeps, a couple of deuce and a halves, and so on. They all went with us. But when we got over there, we had our equipment. It was about a 23-day trip over there. It was anything but fun. My wife says we need to go on a cruise. I said, I've been on my cruise, so I don't care about I'd never make it to Navy, I don't think. But anyway, we got over there. I served about a year, right at a year over there. Came back with Shell. So I worked in the gang, maintenance, and production. Later on, I moved on up to division safety tech, which really played in with the fire service. All your safety, your first aid, training, and a lot of different things played in with the fire department. Like I said, I married a local girl, Annette, and we had two boys. I've got one boy now is 45, and the other one is 42. They've got, the older one has a girl, a senior this year in high school, and two boys, a sophomore and a eighth grader, I think it is. And I have my younger son, is divorced at the time, but he had a set of twins, a boy and a girl, and they're 11 at this time. Anyway, getting back to after I got back from the service, another guy here in town had a TV shop, and I knew him pretty well. And he asked me about coaching baseball, so I asked my wife about it. She said, "Well, you're not doing anything else for the community. Why don't you go ahead and do that?" So I did that for several years, but the guy I was working with was also the fire chief in town, Red Burns. So Red talked me into joining the fire department. I said, "Well, I can't right now during baseball and all." And he said, "Well, I understand." So came January of that, I believe it was the second year, he talked me into it, so I joined the fire department on January the 11th, 1971. So there were several years in there when I got back to service to actually join the fire department. But this year, January the 11th of this year, 2020, actually 49 years. So I've seen a lot of things, I've done a lot of things that I've really enjoyed. I've been a instructor at Texas A&M. I was an instructor there for about 27 years. I was the chief for about that length of time. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We went down every year. We'd go down in January with pre-planning and all of what we were going to do. After a few years, I was made the head of my project, which we had 6 people on the project. And, so a young man here in the department was a captain about that time. A few years later, he had made several of the schools and was really interested in it. So I actually got him into instructor on my project, and then later on, he actually became, and he is at this time, the chief of our department. I gave up being the chief. I've had several back surgeries. I've had knee, shoulder, everything, surgeries, and I've got neuropathy real bad, so I use a walker. I realized when I had to go to a cane even that I wasn't going to do any good out on the scene, so I actually voluntarily gave up my chief position. And Scott, like I said, our chief at the time, he had moved on up to first assistant chief, so he was inclined to move right on into fire chief. Maybe some of the others I might not have resigned at that time, but Scott has done an excellent job and will continue to do that. I know he'll feel real good with him being in there. He's carried on a lot of things that I had started. When I got in the fire department, we didn't have any gear. I said we didn't have any. We had about 5 old coats, fire coats that we got from Dallas. They had the wool lining. In the summer, if you wore them at all, in the summer when you took them off, you had to actually take to get that wool off your arms, and you itched all day. Wow. Didn't have any helmets, fire helmets. They were awful. No boots, no air packs. our trucks were all homemade. We had an ambulance here that we had made I guess it was a Suburban at the time. It was it was a 60 something model. And we had a little dirt racetrack here in town. So they'd asked the fire department, which the chief at that time, Red Burks, he was big into it. He had a race car. So the fire department used this ambulance at the racetrack, and then we used it for any kind of calls we might have on wrecks and different things. We didn't go on any EMS calls like we do now. We had an ambulance service in town. At that time was actually the funeral home. It was a strange deal. Back in the early 60s and 70s, that was your ambulance in town. The funeral home director or one of his employees had probably you'd say no training, maybe a little first aid training, but it was interesting. I lived in an apartment house. There was 4 apartments in kind of a horseshoe shape, and he actually lived in the house next door. And I was outside but putting up Christmas decorations one day, and he drove by and stopped and drove back real fast and said, "Come go with me." So I went with him on the ambulance, and I didn't have any first aid training at the time. He had very little. But what we had two men were out driving around. They had their shotgun, and they were dove hunting. And the driver stopped, and the passenger got out to shoot. At the same time, the driver got out, laid his shotgun across the top of the car, and actually blasted the passenger's head with shotgun from about 3 feet away at that far. So that was our patient. So we picked him up, and that was really my first start of fire department, EMS, or whatever, I guess. But we brought him up here to our hospital. We had a little basic hospital. Brought him up here, and they put a towel on his head and sent us a tire. Me in the back and him driving, and this was the first experience I really had with somebody dying in my hand. He made it all the way to Tyler, but while we were in the emergency room, he actually died. So I thought then that if I can stand that, I could probably stand a lot better. It's been a lot since then, bad or worse, in my 49 years.
Well, thank you, Gary. I appreciate you sharing all that with us. What are some of the positions that you've held here? You talked about chief, but an instructor. But what else have you done here at the department over the years?
Well, I started, of course, as just a firefighter, and it was just a couple of years I moved up to captain, and then on into assistant chief, and I made it all the way up to first assistant. And then we had a group in here that little clique. So one year I was voted out of everything, which that was fine. It hurt, but the way it is. Next year or so I was back in as assistant chief, and then we had a Methodist preacher here that became fire chief, and he and I worked real well together. We had a little breakup at the department we called the Dirty Dozen, where they tossed their badges on the city council's desk, and so we went from there to that night. After those 12, I think we had 6 firemen left. The chief, me, assistant chief, and then a few others. But by, I'd say 11 or 12 that night, we had 45 members. We've never had anything like that. They didn't stay very long, but we had 2 weeks of intensive training for those people. Some of them decided that it just really wasn't what they wanted to do, and some of them stayed for 20 years. So it was a good thing in a way. So After the Methodist preacher got transferred out, then I became chief of the department. And I was for 27 years. I was vice chief. Like I've had numerous surgeries, backs, and everything, but I still come down here every day. The city pays me a little bit. I've more than made my salary up in grants for the department. We've got all new air packs, we've got compressors, we've got all new gear in the past. Probably raised $300,000 or $400,000 in grants. Some of them not 100%, some of them 70%, some of them 90, 100, and so on, but still stuff that we wouldn't have if we didn't have the grants from the forest. Very proud of being able to get those. I've got some FEMA grants and some other types, but I'm not a grant writer, but been able to get those with other people's help with mine. So it's been interesting.
A while back, Gary, they made a training center and named it after you. What did that mean to you?
It really meant a lot. Back in the early 80s, I think it was, I brought all of the fire chiefs together here at Quitman and asked them what they thought about forming our own group, our Fire Chiefs Association. I know a lot of counties, different places have firefighters association, fire chiefs association. I thought probably let's start with the fire chiefs if that's what they wanted to do. So we started the Fire Chiefs Association. They all want to do that. So we started out where we were moving from department to department every month. Well, that got a little bit too much. So we decided we would do it a few years down the road. We would do it every first Wednesday. And we volunteered to have it here. We're in the center of the county, so all of the departments would come in here. Everybody had about the same distance to drive. Some of them more than others, but if they actually went from one side of the county to the other side, you probably got 40 miles or more for a department to drive. So being here in the county worked out real good. We worked on this association for several years, and the city had an old dump site out here that they would let us use, but they had a little bit where they have their warehouse and all. That actually not the dump site, but it adjoins the dump site. So we asked if we could have that, and they said yeah. So we started building different projects. We built a smokehouse, a cinder block smokehouse. We built a tower, a 3-story tower with electric posts. Electrical, you know what I'm talking about, the post anyway. And had 3 layers that we repelled off of. We did ladder training and other things. A few years later, we went in. We did some fire projects. We built a tank, a propane tank project. I went to the head of propane in the state at that time, Hugh Keepers. Got all the information from him that I needed on how I needed to lay the lines out, and all they all had to be wrapped just so and so deep, and so everything was set up just right. We got his okay on everything. So we did the propane tank, we did a line heater, we did a car fire, and a pump seal fire. All of these were run off of a tower that control tower where we could operate the fuel and everything. So it worked out real good. The city also let us do a confined space project. The confined space was below ground where we had a manhole and you go down and it flares out. It's all concrete, and we have that project also. Well, just maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we decided we wanted to go a little bit further. We had done all those projects with our annual school. Our annual school, we have like the second week in September every year. And with this project, we wanted to go in and do something where we could do a maze for SCBA. The other one is we had a maze in it at one time, but it's actually a fire project. We don't want to burn, didn't want to burn in these containers. We had two 40-foot containers, one laid out horizontal and one vertical, and then we had a 20-foot container that sat on top of the 40 one that was laying down. And we're fixing to go in and actually build our maze and all. We looked at that time and time again, so everybody is ready to go in and do that. We can't do it right now because of a virus we have going around for the whole world, but we can't get together. But we will. Our last fire school we had, last September, they secretly went in and had a big sign made that said Gary Simpkins Training Field, which meant a lot to me.
Yes, sir.
Really did. Very proud of what I've done, but that was above and beyond on their part.
Yes, sir. I know you told us that you've been with the fire department for a little over 49 years now, but I think it's safe to say that, let's round it up 50 years, okay? So you've been with the fire department 50 years now. What motivates a person to devote 50 years of their life to the service of others and their community?
Well, I don't know. It's my wife, like I said earlier, my wife said, if you don't do anything, you might as well do the baseball team. Well, I did that. The fire department, been past president of the Chamber of Commerce, past president of Kiwanis, and president of our local scuba diving club. And that's another thing that I started here. Is divers. We had no divers in the county. I went. My wife and I actually went and got our diving certificates, and we had at one time we had the biggest scuba diving club in the state here in Quitman. We had husbands and wives and kids, and had a real good deal. Done a lot of different things, and sometimes she said, why don't you stay home more often? But she has never complained about me going on fires, whether it was when we had a house full of company for Christmas. We had 40 people there. We had a major structure fire, house fire. She never said a thing about that. She was a nursing home administrator for 40 plus years, and when the fire phone rang, it was a nursing home. If there's something at the nursing home, they couldn't figure out how she got there before we did. Of course, we had to come to the station and get the trucks and so on. But she knew about it. They hadn't even called her yet, and she was already there. So it's been very interesting to say the least. But it's a family affair. I've heard some of the firemen say that you have to go to that one. Yeah. If there's a fire or wreck, you have to go. It's just that simple. I've never hesitated about going. Sometimes when you're dressed ready to go to church or something, something comes in, you've got to go, whether it's a wreck, a fire, or whatever it might be. So you don't even think twice about it. It's a service that you volunteer for. We volunteer. There's paid ones, and that's great. It can be a great occupation to have, but it's also great to volunteer.
Yes, sir. Hey, Gary, do you mind sharing with us some of your most memorable, I guess, good times that you've had with the Quitman Fire Department?
No, we've had some good ones. I guess some of the wrecks and the drownings have been what affected all of us the most. We had one wreck one night. It was a two vehicle. One vehicle in the car had a young man and woman. The man had been on my baseball team. He had two teenage daughters in the back seat. They were all killed. The other car had run a stop sign and hit him. He was killed. So we had 5 people there. We had a trooper in another town that I guess you could say he just flat disliked firemen. The local firemen, they would bring all of their personal vehicles out to a wreck or whatever he was working, always in the way. They helped, but all these vehicles were in the way. We always came to the station, got our trucks, whatever we needed, and then went to the scene. He was on that night, and I thought when he showed up, oh heck. But he worked good. We worked all night on that. He stopped it. Okay, it's about a week after this wreck that he sent the nicest letter to us that he actually said that he wasn't too fond of volunteer time, but we did the best job that night.
Gary, do you have any other stories that you'd like to share or things you'd like to say to the younger folks or the next generation of men and women who are starting or even possibly starting to think about a journey in their service to others?
This is a different age than 71 was when I joined the department.
Yes, sir.
We've got people that's got their cell phones now. They're on there, seem like 24 hours a day, not doing anything constructive for the community. This is here. It's something that you can come, you can do, you can get a lot of gratitude out of from the people. We send out a letter every year. That's the only fundraiser we've done in a number of years. We send them out in March. We usually get anywhere from $30,000 to $50-something thousand in a year of just donations from people with this letter drive. The people appreciate what we're doing. They really do. And it's a great opportunity for young men and women. We've had probably a dozen women in here over just my time. There wasn't any before I joined, but we've had some women. We've had some very active women that did an excellent job fighting fires, direction, whatever. Some of the neighboring, we don't have any at this time, but some of the neighboring departments do. The women are great as EMS first responders. They've gone and got their EMTs or ECAs, EMRs, whatever, and do a great job. But we've had them fight fires, do everything that the rest of us do. One thing about it, that when they quit, we got a size small boots that doesn't fit anybody else unless another woman comes in. But that's all right. We'll get the gear for them. We believe in, Scott believes the same way that I do. Let's get the best gear we can for everybody. And our people appreciate it. You can see this truck. When I joined, we had homemade equipment. Every truck was homemade. This is a $600+ thousand truck. I never thought a little town with less than 2,000 population would have equipment like this. But it's very enjoyable. It hurts sometimes. If the people are hurting, you got to bring someone in to work with or send them to somebody. I understand that Scott does. Not very large. So yeah, it's a good thing for people to get into. But when you get into it 100%. Don't say, well, I'll go when I can. That's not the way to do it.
Yes, sir. Well, Gary, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down. I know some of this, it's tough to recount and recall. I appreciate everything that you've done for this community. And I know I'm not the only one in this community that wants to thank you for everything that you've done over the last 50 years. And I also want to thank you as a former U.S. Army veteran myself. Thank you for your service to our country, sir.